In this video, I will show you how to sum the first 10 columns in Excel like this. So let's get started. Here in this Excel sheet, I have some investment details including years and amounts in these columns. Now I want to calculate the sum of the amounts for the first 4 years, that is years 2020 to 2023. To sum the first 10 columns, we first need to get the first 10 number of columns from the dataset. We can use the Excel offset function to do that. The offset function returns a reference to a range, that is the number of rows or columns from the specified starting cell. This function accepts 5 arguments: a reference of the starting point, the number of rows to offset, the number of columns to offset, optional height in rows, and optional width in columns. For example, let's get the first 3 amounts from the row number 3 using the offset function. To do that, I will select cell A3 as the starting point. Since we want the data from the same row, the row offset argument will be 0. We want the data starting from the C3 column, that is 2 columns after the starting point A3. I will specify 2 as the column offset argument. The height refers to how many rows of data we want, so that will be only 1. Since we want the amounts of the first 3 columns, that is C3 to E3, I will specify 3 as the column width argument. As you can see, the offset function returned the first 3 amount cells as an array. We can also get the same 3 amount cells by specifying the starting point as C3 instead of A3 and then specifying 0 as the column offset instead of 2, like this. To get all the data cells from these 2 rows, that is cells C2 to G3, I will specify cell C2 as the starting point. Since we want to start from the same cell without any offset, I will specify 0 as the row and column offset arguments. Since we want the data from 2 rows starting from cell C2, I will specify 2 as the height in rows. Finally, since we want the data from 5 columns starting from cell C2, I will specify 5 as the width in columns. As you can see, we now have all the data from year and amount columns, 2 rows in height and 5 columns in width as an array. Since we now know how to get the first 10 columns from the data, summing them up is very easy. Let's type an equal sign in the target cell to start the formula. Let's first get the first 4 amount cells using the offset function. I will specify C3 as the first starting point argument, 0 as the row and column offsets, and 1 as the row height argument. Since we have specified number of years in the C6 cell, I will select that cell as the width in column argument. As you can see, this offset function will return the first 4 amount cells. Since we want to sum these array elements, I will simply pass this offset function as an argument of the sum function like this. Hit the enter key to complete the formula. As you can see, we now have the sum of the first 4 columns. I have specified the number of columns argument as the C6 cell instead of hardcoding that directly into the offset function. So we can change the number of columns without changing the formula to get the updated sum dynamically. For example, changing the number of columns from 4 to 3 will give us the sum of the first 3 columns automatically. Watch these videos for more Excel tips, tricks, and how-to tutorials. If you found this video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel.